We got Boots the Confederate Cat here, and I got my bike up resting. This is what I do. I put a little jack stand over there, it's really on a jiffy stand, but just to steady it up a little bit more. And I put the jack under the frame, which is actually, it's not really under the frame, it's under the arm that holds that muffler on. There's like a slot, and it fits in the slot right there. Then I put this, the jack stand underneath it with a little, it's like a little indentation in there that has semicircle, fits right on the tube of the frame, and I lower it on there. Then to put the bags up out of the way, I just used there he goes. I just used these. Now, it's not hard to do the tire. It's not hard, to take the wheel off. It's a little, it's a little bit pain is this stuff, because I'm going to try to just inject a bunch of the swing arm bearings. I'm just going to clean around here, and I'm not going to take the pipes off or anything like that. Just try to inject a bunch of grease in there. Of course, you got to get some White Castle burgers. Give you some energy to do this. This, on this bike, this is an 89. That's torqued to 65 foot-pounds, 60 to 65. You really don't need Loctite blue because of, you got this, the cotter pin. What you do is you go past the 60 to 65 where you have to line up the cotter pin, but don't go you don't back off on it. I'm changing out this sprocket. That's a brand new sprocket practically. It's a 48 tooth. The front one is a 21 tooth. I always put a 23 tooth on there since I moved it to 1200. The reason being is it's more highway gearing. I got 4 speeds, but with 1200, the first gear starts out fine. With and especially now with the 12, 20 years ago, whenever the hell that motor was built in 92 or something, more than 20 years ago, 26 years ago. It's got the Baisley valves and Andrew cam. I can actually, any stock Sportster with a 1200, you can run it on a 4-speed, you can run a 23 tooth front sprocket. I'm going to run a 46 in the back, give it more highway gearing. It's not going to have a problem starting out at first. The chain is a 530 O-ring chain. If you have the stock setup with the 21 tooth here on the main shaft and a 48 tooth on the wheel, you use a 106 link 530 chain, 530 O-ring chain. If you have the 23 tooth in the front and a 48 in the back, use 110 links. I'm probably going to have to take out a couple links, and I got the chain brake tool to bring it down to 108 because this one's going to be a little smaller, and so it's going to be, when this one went bigger, I had to go up 4 links. When this goes down a little bit, I might have to go down 2 links, so it's going to be maybe 108. So I might have to take a couple links out of it. The sprocket is torqued on there onto the wheel at 55 foot-pounds on this particular bike. I believe it's 55. I better damn look it up again, but I'm pretty sure it is. And it uses Loctite. You use Loctite on it too. I'll probably use Loctite red versus blue because I can always take it off with the propane. And we're also going to install some wheel bearings in it. One thing I don't want to bother with is wheel swing arm bearings. Are a pain in the ass. But I figure if I just clean this up real good, if I move this out a little bit, I'm going to use the needle grease injector. Just pump a whole shitload of grease in there. Call it a day. Change out the wheel bearings, put new seals in it. That part I ain't afraid of. This part, I don't feel like taking off these damn pipes. It's nice when you don't have this stupid crossover. If you can just take this one pipe off. It's just more bullshit because you got to watch when you take these screws out. If you don't screw something up. I'm going to try to do it without it. So first, let's get this damn cotter pin out of here. Take that off, get the wheel off. And also, when you adjust the chain, you got to turn these equal amount You know, I count the number of flats on the on the nut on each side, because you don't want this wheel going like this where it's not tracking true. You know, you want to have it 100% straight like this, tracking with the front wheel correctly. As you can see, even with the 110 link chain, I could probably have made it a hair shorter, but you know, there's still enough room in there to adjust it more. Well, I took the cotter pin off and the nut. It's a 15/16, maybe it's a metric, then a washer. I start tapping that through, and make sure, whenever you put that axle back in there, grease the hell out of it, or else it's going to be tough to get out. The problem actually with doing the swing arms bearings is not even just the exhaust, but it's also supporting the, it's not like a problem, it's just more time consuming, it's aggravating. It's supporting the bike. Like, to take the rear wheel off, it's not a big deal, because I could support the bike on the swing arm itself and the frame. And you know, if you're taking out the swing arm bearings, you're going to have to you know, find a different place to support it. That's why a motorcycle jack works sometimes. Like, usually I just put that jack under it, that right there, and if I put a couple of jack stands, a few jack stands, it's plenty good. But if you're taking out, if you're doing a swing arm, you got to support it there else different way. So this is going to come out. I should have enough room to get the tire out, and you also need to, you know, be careful with the you know, you might want to spread the brake caliper a little bit, spread it open a little bit, so make sure you don't hit your brake, obviously, while the wheel is off, because you'll push out the brake caliper and you'll wind up maybe having to get another brake caliper, or at least breed the brakes and take it all apart and all that shit. So you know, I usually like to spread out, put a screwdriver in here, and open up the caliper a little bit, so you know, the disc comes out. And this is also a good time to check the wear on the disc with a caliper. Just put it around there. There should be a number on here someplace that tells you what the wear is. I don't think the wear is bad. I can also tell. I can tell by just doing that. It's not bad. It's just like, it's got to be well within spec. So I'm just tapping this bolt out, and the wheel's going to come out. And you know, I'll have to do something else with the jack here. But when the wheel is out, I can, you know, this won't fall apart or anything like that because it's held up over there. But it's not that steady. When the wheel is off of it, there's going to be a lot less weight on the bike. I could put something, perhaps, I don't know, somewhere else under this damn thing to keep it from falling. Maybe up under here, you know. Put a piece of wood. That's the one thing when you're working on these things. It's like, for a lot of stuff, you could just use that freaking scissor jack. But sometimes, for the stamped swing arm, it's like you want to actually support the whole bike from the bottom of the frame. That's the pain in the ass. That's the other pain in the ass part about it. That's why it eats up so much more time. It's not really that damn hard to do, but it just eats up time. Well, got the wheel off, and you got to kind of, I let some air out of the tire to squeeze it in and out of there because it makes it a little easier. What I use, let me just tame this down a little bit. I like using this little claw hammer because it fits right in here like this, and it pulls out that seal like nothing. I mean, these were in here a little bit stuck pretty good because, you know, but the claw hammer works better than the special tool, the small claw hammer. And it looks like, you know, actually I think the last time I did these tires, I didn't even grease the freaking wheel bearings. And I knew, like, the time before I greased them, that was a long time ago. That's why I was a little afraid to take it on a trip on a highway. But looks like there's plenty of grease in there. And it looks like these tires, even though they're dated, you know, I don't really see nothing wrong with them. They're just that they're 6 years old now. And I figured, you know, that's why I was riding it around, but I didn't feel like blasting down a turnpike at 75, 80 miles an hour with these things, but it probably would have been fine. It looks like there's a lot of grease in there still. Doesn't seem like there's any kind of problem with these bearings, but they're getting changed. So I put this on a piece of cardboard too. And when you do these bearings, you don't interchange. You don't just change the bearing and leave the tapered race in there. You don't do that. You don't do that. No way. And this has this, and I marked these, even though I think they're the same. I put like left one and right one. So again, I'm gonna have to use some strength to get this out of here because it's been there a while. But see how that fits right in there like that? You just pull up on the handle, it'll pop out. I gotta put my foot on here and do it, and then I could take the bearings out. See, it's not hard to do this swing arm. It's not even that hard to do the swing arm. The problem is supporting the bike. If you got the bike stand, you'll be okay. So I could do it. It just takes a little more time. That's the problem. Well, I don't have the right tools to remove the bearing race. So, but when I looked at the bearing real careful, and the race, they're in perfect condition. Cleaned them off really good. There's absolutely nothing wrong with these damn bearings. So I'm just going to pack them with high quality grease here. I got some this stuff here, Lucas extra heavy duty grease for high speed applications, marine bearings, and all that other shit. So I'll just pack the crap out of them with this. Now, last time I did them, I don't know, it was quite a few years ago, but I put a slew of grease in them, and I put grease behind the seals, and then I smash them in. I mean, I packed the crap out of them. I guess if you put a lot of grease in them, I guess the stuff. I got two extra pairs of. I got 2 full sets of bearings. I can't knock these out from the inside. I guess you need a special tool. I'm going to find out if you can do the front ones though from knocking them out from the inside. It might be a little bit different. But the back one, there's no problem with them at all. So, and that may be because there's more grease from the chain back there that's getting on, where the seal is, on the outside lip of the seal. Plus, I do not pressure wash my bike. You pressure wash your bike and you get it in that seal. I'm not talking about the ones in the sealed bearings 2000 up. You do it on the old ones, you're going to get water in there and screw them up. But I guess, with great maintenance, I could have took this bike down the highway, probably. I don't think there would have been any problem. So, but I wasn't 100% sure. But I'm just going to grease the crap out of them and put them back in there. Well, installed the new grease fitting. I just used a socket, that thing right there. Right there, that socket, and tapped it in there with a hammer, a bunch of grease. There's a bunch of grease behind the seal. I think these tapered bearings probably last a way lot longer than the sealed bearings, as long as you keep them greased. And I think the problem with the tapered bearings was that people would use a pressure washer on their bike and get water in there. And that's not a problem with the double sealed bearings that they got. But the double sealed bearing, well, they could last a long time too. They can last 50 or 80,000 miles or something, or 20,000, depends on what the hell they got. So, but I guess it's just like the same thing on the new cars. They got the sealed hubs. What do you usually get 100,000 miles out of them? But the old bearings, if you do them correctly, they'll last virtually forever. So that's what these are like, the tapered ones. So I don't know. I guess because I kept greasing them, I guess they were okay. Even though I had to do them a long time, they put so much grease in there, I guess they survived. But I don't pressure wash the bike. I got to find the right tool for pulling out the races. But if they're not screwed up, I'm not going to change them. Okay, so now when you got the seal goes just slightly below, this, the outside edge here. It's actually going to have the spacer goes in there that seals up. And you also have the sleeve that goes in there that's like the spacer that's in the inside. I'm cleaning that. And you want to make sure you grease that sleeve and you grease the axle really good, because sometimes it'll get stuck. Also, what I put is grease in behind the lip in here. I just fill it up with all kinds of grease. So it's not just like grease the bearing and put the seal on. I put grease in behind the seal. So it's like, that's probably why these bearings freaking held up so damn good. They look like brand new. I don't know how the front one is, but if the front one's bad, what I'll do is get the tool later and I'll just change the front one. The front one's easier to change than the rear, but the rear is perfect. And that's usually what the case is, because with the non-belt drive, you got the chain, it just gets grease a little bit, even not so much on the brake side, but it still gets grease all back there in a little bit. So, you know, on the outside of the seal, keeps things from drying out. Well, and unscrew the bolts from the sprocket, which are, I think they're 5/8. That's the, like I said, that's a 48 tooth. This is a little more time consuming because if you're just changing out the tire and greasing the wheel bearings, you don't have to adjust the chain or shorten the chain or anything. But I'm going to have to shorten the chain probably with this. This is a 46. So I'm going to put this on here. I got to look up the specs. It's probably 55 foot-pounds, I believe. I got to look it up. And I've got to find out what kind of Loctite you use, red or blue. I got both, so anyway. So I'll put this on. That'll be enough for tonight. And tomorrow, you know, if I get the swing arm bearing done, you know, it's going to be freaking put the tire on, shorten the chain, adjust the chain, put the wheel back on. And the front one's going to be easy. And if I notice that the primary is full, there's no leak by the shift shaft seal or anything like that, I'm probably not going to change out that primary chain just right now. I know it's getting near where it needs to be changed out, but you know, it's still not too loose. So probably just put some of the Mobil 1 gear oil in there and stuff with the Slick 50, and then I'll be able to take it on extended rides. I'll be taking it up to White Springs, Florida, just north of I-10. We'll get some video of the other Confederate flag up there, so see how that works out. But you know, with the tires and the bearings done, the highway gears, that's going to be something, because I never rode with a 23. A lot of people tell you that's way too highway for a 4-speed, but this engine's, I don't know whatever this guy did to the valves. It's like, okay, it's a 1220 over, so that makes it 74.4 cubic inches or whatever, 74.5. And it's got the Andrews V4 cam, and it's got the more open pipes, and the carburetor's jetted, and it's got the performance ignition and some other things, and it's a little bit of head work. But I think it's those Baisley valves. They're a lot bigger. They're high flow design, and I think that's what it's, I don't know what that is. It doesn't have like immense amounts of power, but it's got more than enough that I ever want to use, and it's got more than enough that I can run the 23 tooth sprocket off the engine main shaft, off the main shaft transmission, with the 46 in the back of this thing. It'll pull it no problem. It won't bog at all in first gear. So you only need 4 speeds. And as far as the end ratio, it'll run just as good on the highway with the big bikes. It's not going to have 5 speeds or 6 speeds or whatever the hell they got today. It's just going to have 4, but it's got, with the weight of this bike, you know, being under 500 pounds, I think it's 465 dry. So maybe it's 520 wet with the bags or something. I mean, it's about 400 pounds less than the big bikes. So it pulls fine with this engine in it. So, you know, you got to remember, a shovel head was only a 74 cubic inch back in 1980, whatever. And that was the big twin. And it actually put out less horsepower than the Sportster Evo. And I know this Sportster Evo, I mean, it's nothing really special, but it's got more than the stock one. So this one's putting out more power than a big twin shovel head, which personally I'd rather have a big twin shovel head in some ways, but it's got advantages with that transmission. But the thing is, it's good enough. I mean, the only thing, this bike, I like it because it's small enough that you can get it between places. You can get it on screwed up terrain a little bit, not a real lot. but it's not good. If you definitely can't haul 2 people with a lot of gear on this thing. That's one thing. Forget about it. You can do that. Well, the new sprockets on there, the torque was 50 to 55 foot-pounds, and I know last time I put Loctite on it, the book didn't say anything about Loctite, but I must have put Loctite blue because I removed it with hand tools, so I used Loctite blue again. Used a bunch of it, and it's 50 to 55 foot-pounds. I went around it a few times, just like on a lug nuts of the wheel. Did this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And, I did it in stages, 30 pounds, 40 pounds. Then I did 55 pounds, and I went over it twice to make sure it's on there. The Loctite ain't going nowhere. So, it's not hard to change the tire. I'll do that tomorrow. The only thing, we'll see how, the one thing I got to make sure how to lift this, so I can get at this, I can get at the bearings and stuff in the back there, which I'm just going to put a bunch of grease in there, because if they're not screwed up, they really, main thing that goes wrong with those is they get, probably hear Putin in there crying. He's freaking yo-yo, my little cat. He's freaking bitches every time I walk outside. But, that bearing, one side, this side is a bushing, the opposite side is a bearing. It's got 2 bearings. They really don't take a lot of movement, but really what goes wrong with those is if they dry out. They're in an area that gets a lot of moisture. Harley should have put grease fittings on there, because they just want you to go to the dealer all the time. But I've never really pulled them apart all the way. I've always just injected a lot of grease in them. They seem to be okay. Same with up here. I'm going to be taking this bolt out of here, right there. See that bolt right there? Take it out, and there's a large grease fitting I put in there, and I just fill this whole neck up with grease. I adjusted it a couple times before, but it just doesn't wear out as long as it's a lot of grease. And the only thing I was worried about, if I was making a long trip, was really the front bearing. The front bearing seems to dry out more than the rear. I don't know why that is. Maybe, like I said, probably because of the chain. I might have to change this one, but since I don't have the tool, I don't know, maybe I could get it out with this. Maybe this front wheel is different from the back wheel. I thought you can take a screwdriver and get at the lip and knock them out. We'll see. But maybe I don't need to change them. I don't know. This side, it's 55 foot-pounds. Not that pinch bolt, but the bolt on the other side. The pinch bolt is, I think, 21 to 25 foot-pounds on this pinch bolt right here. This thing. That's easy to do. So, and I might not do the primary chain right away. Once it doesn't have a lot of slop in it, I'll probably just change the oil in the trans and primary, and that's it. Put some of that Mobil 1 with but I should have done this before. I was getting sidetracked with a lot of stuff, and actually I got to put a ignition module in the other lawnmower. I got to cut up some more tires, get rid of that stuff, get rid of the tree branches. There's other projects. I got to put a clutch in the El Camino now, and then do the springs in the back. But I figured I better do this, because I keep delaying this crap, and that's why I'm not doing it. Just getting on with I got a million other things I don't even want to mention. I want to change where the big screen TV is. I want to move it up higher on the wall. A couple other things. Just move this more under the carport, so you want to put this like that, like this, like that. It's under a carport, just so it don't get any dirt on there. That bolt, when you put that in there, grease the crap out of it. This sleeve, this is the spacer between the 2 bearings, so obviously don't forget to put this thing in. And you want to put a lot of grease in here too. But you can see there's no pitting or rust on there, because I greased the crap out of everything, and I guess that's why everything's holding together pretty good. So, a little maintenance goes a long way. Like that Suzuki over there, the thing with the spare tire cover with the Confederate flag on it, that's got 230,000 miles on it. Doesn't even burn a drop of oil. So, you know, maintenance really does a lot. So, it'd be pretty cool. It'd be the first time I ever had this kind of highway gearing. Get this set up, and you know, I could have definitely made it down to, yeah, well, we'll see how this bearing is. But as it looks, the tire don't look bad. Even though it's aged, I was kind of more worried about the bearings, but it looks like I put a shitload of grease in there, man. I swear to God, I don't think I re-greased these bearings the last time I changed the tires. It was kind of stupid of me to do that, but I remember the time before I did them, I put a shitload of grease in the best stuff. It was, I don't know, it was some kind of Pennzoil stuff or some shit. So, and it's like after 1 o'clock in the morning. I still got some pretty good energy, and between the Carbon C60 and his Parazapper thing here, I don't know, feels like I'm doing pretty good. So, I know one thing, I think I'm going to set up, that's another thing I got to do. I got that 464 naval brass back here. It's in here. It's in this box right here. I got to cut it up. I got to make some, yeah, that right there, see it? I got to make some contact plates. I'm going to wear them on a belt with this thing. And I've been using this probably about 15 hours a day, this Parazapper thing. Sometimes, you know, people ask me how I wear them. Sometimes I just put these under each armpit or something or whatever, you know. Put one inside my belt, one under my arm or something, or each side of my belt. It's not a perfect setup, but I figure if I use those plates with a elastic belt, I'm going to be using this thing probably maybe 20 hours a day. If it actually gets rid of all the parasites and bad shit, it's going to give me a lot more energy, get a lot more shit done, right? So, you know, I've been working on stuff a lot every day, and I've just been putting this off because I was doing a lot of other things. Should have done it before, because I'm so pissed off that I didn't ride down to the big Confederate flag on I-75. I really felt stupid freaking riding up over there with a car, to tell you the truth. I really did feel stupid, but I was a little worried about riding down there with 6-year-old tires and bearings that I didn't maintain probably for, I don't know how many years, you know, more than 6 years. But it seems like everything's okay, because I did a pretty good job on it.